Humiliation is standing in a CVS trying to pick up your blood pressure meds, and the card doesn't work. You smile and lie that you grabbed the wrong one, all while knowing that overdue light bill is in your pocket, crumpled from worry. This is where I was, 68 years old and counting cents. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'd love to hear where you're listening from. Share your city below. Let's begin this journey together. A cold sweat hit me right there at the CVS. Card declined. I pretended to look for something in my purse, just praying the floor would open up. The cashier, a girl young enough to be my granddaughter, tapped her acrylic nails on the counter, impatient. "I must have grabbed the wrong one," I muttered. A weak lie. I walked out of that brightly lit store empty-handed. Me, Odessa Cooper, 68 years old, a woman who taught American history for 40 years, and I couldn't afford a bottle of aspirin and my blood pressure medication. I got back to my apartment. It's a tiny one-bedroom place, but I'd painted the main room a bright, sunny yellow. I told people I liked the cheerfulness. The truth is, I did it to keep the shadows at bay. This little box is what I got after I sold my house, my home of 35 years. The one my husband James and I bought when Ronald was just a toddler. I sold it all. I drained my savings. I gave every last cent to my son for his wedding. That lavish, expensive wedding for a woman he'd only known for 6 months. I took my one good dress, a maroon silk, out of the plastic. I was steaming it over the kettle, getting ready for dinner at their house tonight. My hand was shaking, not just from the steam. That unpaid light bill was still on the kitchen counter, crumpled from worry. The CVS rejection was the final humiliation. I was, for the first time in my life, on the edge of broke. And that is the exact moment my phone buzzed. It was a text from my lawyer, Franklin. He's been my lawyer since James passed. He's old school, which means he doesn't text, ever. The message was 4 words: "Call me immediately." My fingers felt thick as I dialed. He picked up on the first ring. "Desi, you sitting down?" "Franklin, what is it? You're scaring me." "I hope I am," he said, his voice flat, all business. "I'm calling about your new daughter-in-law, Keisha." "Keisha? Is she okay? Is Ronald?" "Ronald is a fool, Desi. And Keisha..." He took a long breath. "Keisha is not okay, because Keisha does not exist." The steam iron hissed in my hand. I nearly dropped it. What are you talking about?" "I ran a check, just a simple background like I told you I wanted to do before the wedding, and you told me not to meddle." "Franklin, she's not Keisha Cooper. Or Keisha anything else. That whole story she fed you, oncology nurse at Mercy General, it's a lie. A flat-out, bald-faced lie." I sat down hard on the little stool by the counter. "There is no one. By her name, with her social security number, working at that hospital," he said. "There is no nursing license for her in the state of Georgia. There is no record of her, period." The sunny yellow walls felt like they were closing in. "Desi, are you listening to me?" Yes, I'm here. "My investigator, he found something. It's not clean, but it's a pattern, Desi. This woman, whatever her real name is, she's done this before. 2, maybe 3 other men. Short marriages, emptied accounts, and then she vanishes." My heart didn't just sink, it stopped. It wasn't just my house. It wasn't just the $10,000 I suspected she'd skimmed from the wedding budget. It was everything. It was Ronald, my only son. "Oh, God," I whispered. "You're still going to dinner tonight?" Franklin asked. I couldn't find my voice. I just nodded, then realized he couldn't see me. Yes, I am." "Good," he said. His voice was hard. "You go. You eat their food. You smile at that woman. And you do not say one single word about this call. Do you hear me, Odessa? You watch. You listen. You be the polite, sweet mother-in-law. But you keep your eyes wide open. We need to know what she's after." I hung up the phone. The maroon dress looked cheap now. The smell of steam filled the tiny apartment. The drive to Ronald's house took 40 minutes. 40 minutes for the acid in my stomach to churn. They lived in one of those new, sprawling suburbs north of Atlanta. My little yellow box versus his palace. It was perfect, like a picture in a magazine, and just as cold. I saw them through the big front window before I even parked. The lights were on, the scene staged. Keisha was standing by the kitchen island, hair pulled back in a way that looked elegant and effortless, but probably took an hour. And Ronald, my son, was orbiting her. He was handing her a glass of wine, his head tilted, laughing at something she said. He looked like a lost boy, confident and not careful enough. That's what James used to say about him. All that success in business, but no common sense. I took a deep breath before I rang the bell. Keep your mouth shut. Watch. He opened the door and his smile was stretched thin. It didn't reach his eyes. Hey, Mama, come on in. Hi, baby. I hugged him. He felt stiff. His eyes were tired and hollow. Long week? I asked. Yeah, just work, you know. He motioned me inside. And then she was there, gliding across the hardwood floor. She was wearing a floral apron. On her, it looked like a stage costume. Mama Desi, she cooed. You made it. Wine? Just water for me, please, Keisha. Thank you. I stepped inside, and the coldness was real. It wasn't just the air conditioning. The air smelled wrong, like expensive, unlit candles, the kind that smell like nothing, just wax and chemicals. It wasn't Ronald's house anymore. I looked around. All the new furniture was gray or beige or some sad color in between, sharp edges, glass, tables. Everything looked like no one was allowed to sit on it. His soul was gone from this place. I walked into the living room, my old, comfortable shoes silent on her expensive rug. Where's the painting? I asked, trying to keep my voice light. The one he'd saved up for 2 whole years after college. A bright, messy abstract full of reds and blues. Ronald flinched. He couldn't even look at me. Keisha stepped in, handing me a glass of water that was too cold. Oh, that old thing? We're streamlining, Mama Desi, taking things in a more mature direction. I looked at the empty wall where it used to hang. And your father's clock? The one from his desk? In storage, Ronald mumbled, looking at the floor. It was just old. Junk, really, Keisha added, with a bright, dismissive laugh. We needed to clear out all that junk, make a fresh start. Junk. My husband's clock. My son's first piece of real art. Wiped away. Erased. Ronald just nodded, sipping his wine too fast, and I heard it, clear as a bell. That same false tone. The one he used when he was 9 years old, lying to cover for a neighborhood bully who had broken a window. That same, please don't be mad, let's just move on voice. My stomach turned. Franklin's words echoed in my head. A pattern. I looked right past Keisha. My voice came out steadier than I felt. Ronald, I need to speak with you, in your study, alone. Keisha's smile froze for half a second. It was so fast I might have missed it if I wasn't looking for it. Oh, but dinner's almost... It'll just take a minute, I said. I didn't look at her. I looked at my son. Ronald? He hesitated, caught between the two of us. Finally, he nodded. Yeah, okay, sure, Mama, this way. Ronald's study was the only room left that smelled like him. Old books, paper, and the faint scent of the stress he always carried. It was messy. It was real. Stacks of business journals sat on the floor. His binders were piled high. And there, on his desk, shoved behind a new, sleek laptop I didn't recognize, was the fishing photo. Him and his dad, on Lake Allatoona, holding up a tiny base. His dad was beaming. I closed the door. The click was loud in the quiet house. Ronald leaned against his desk, not meeting my eye. What's up, Mama? Everything okay? I didn't waste time. I wasn't his mama right now. I was Odessa. Son, what do you really know about this woman? His shoulders didn't just droop. They collapsed. And the look on his face. It wasn't anger. It wasn't confusion. It was relief. pure, heartbreaking relief, like he'd been waiting for someone, anyone, to finally say it out loud. "What? What do you mean?" he stammered. "I mean, what do you know about her family, her past, her job?" He started talking, stumbling over the words I now knew were a script. She grew up in another state. She's an orphan, you know that. She put herself through nursing school. She wanted a fresh start, away from all that. I stood my ground. A fresh start, I see, and her job. "She's an oncology nurse, Mama, at Mercy General. It's really hard work. She's on call all the time." My voice was quiet, deadly quiet. "Have you ever once, Ronald, been to her job? Have you ever picked her up from the hospital? Seen her in her uniform? Met a single one of her co-workers?" He looked at the floor. The silence was the only answer I needed. "No," he said, so quiet I could barely hear him. She says patient privacy is very strict, and she gets urgent calls." He gestured vaguely to the hallway. "She always takes them in the other room." I pulled out my phone. I didn't open it. I just held it. "I spoke to Franklin today," I said. His head snapped up. "Franklin, your lawyer? Why?" "He ran a background check." You what, Mama? You can't just..." "He said there are no records, Ronald. She doesn't work there. She has no nursing license. The name Keisha might not even be real." His face went white, ashy. He looked small, like that 9-year-old boy again. That's impossible," he whispered. She wouldn't. And then it happened. Ding, the kitchen timer. A sound so normal, so domestic, it was violent. A second later, her voice floated down the hall, cheerful, bright, and utterly fake. "Boys, dinner's ready. I hope you're hungry." Ronald just stared at the closed door, trapped. His eyes were wide with a terror that was just starting to dawn, and I knew this was just the beginning. We sat at the dining room table, a table I didn't recognize, under a light fixture that looked like a metal spider. Ronald was just staring at his plate. He hadn't said a word since we left the study. Vivian, I had to stop thinking of her as Keisha, glided in from the kitchen. She was carrying a heavy casserole dish. "I made baked ziti, Mama Desi. I know it's one of Ronald's favorites." She set it down on a trivet, and that's when I saw it. She was serving her fake dinner on my grandmother's china, the plates James and I had used for every Thanksgiving for 30 years, the ones I'd packed in bubble wrap and given to Ronald for safekeeping. They were just being used, casually, for a Wednesday night ziti. She sat down, her smile bright and blinding. She started dishing out a huge portion for Ronald. "And how are things at the new apartment, Mama Desi?" she asked, that fake concern dripping from every word. "Is it comfortable enough for you?" I took a sip of my water. I watched her. I watched my son, who was pushing pasta around his plate. "It's fine," I said, "a little tight." And then I pulled the string. I looked right at Ronald. My voice was light, just casual conversation. "You know, I was just balancing my books this morning. I gave you $40,000 for the wedding, baby. I remember the caterer and the venue came to about $30,000. I was just wondering, where did that extra $10,000 go?" Ronald's fork stopped. It just froze, halfway to his mouth. I saw it. On Vivian's face. A flicker. A split second of pure, cold panic before she clamped it down. She laughed, a high, tinkling sound. "Oh, Mama Desi, you and your numbers." "Just curious," I said, my eyes still on my son. "The honeymoon," Vivian said, jumping in. It ran over, and we had some unexpected repairs here, and I had a couple of old student loans I just wanted to pay off. Get a clean start, you know." Ronald put his fork down. His voice was low. "Student loans?" "Just a tiny bit left," she said, waving her hand dismissively. "I didn't want you to worry about it." Ronald turned to face her. The fog was finally clearing from his eyes. "You told the mortgage lender you had zero debt. I saw the application. We co-signed. You checked the box. No outstanding liabilities." Vivian's face flushed. She put her hand on his arm, playing the embarrassed wife. "Baby, I just didn't want you to think less of me. It was an old mistake. I handled it." Ronald didn't back down. For the first time, he didn't back down. "How? Where are the statements? I pay all the household bills. I have access to every account. I haven't seen a single payment go out to Sally Mae. Not one." The table went silent. The air was so thick I could hardly breathe. Vivian stared at him. Her sweet wife mask was cracking. She abruptly stood up, grabbing her plate and Ronald's. "Dessert. I'll check on the dessert." She didn't walk to the kitchen. She fled. The moment she was gone, the kitchen faucet turned on. Full blast, the sound of water rushing hard. Then a cabinet door slammed. Then another. "She's covering her tracks," I said, my voice barely a whisper. Ronald was pale. What does that mean?" He looked at me, his eyes begging for an answer that wasn't the one I had to give. "What else, Mama? What else did Franklin say?" I gave him the hard truth. He thinks Keisha isn't her real name. He said her name is probably Vivian, that she's been married before, maybe twice. He said she drains their accounts, their retirement, everything. And then she disappears. He said, "It's her pattern, son." The water in the kitchen shut off. The silence that followed was heavier than the noise. It was absolute. "Keisha," Ronald called out. His voice was unsteady. "Nia, is everything okay in there?" No answer. "Nia?" He stood up, knocking his chair back. I was right behind him. We rushed into the kitchen. It was perfect, pristine. The ziti dish was on the counter next to the sink. The dessert, some store-bought cheesecake, was sitting out. Everything looked staged, like a photo. But the back door, the one that led to the patio and the garage, was open, just a crack. "Her purse," Ronald breathed. He pointed to the small table by the door where she always dropped it. "It's gone." She was gone, but she'd made a mistake. On the granite island next to a bowl of perfect fake lemons sat her phone, and the screen was lit up. My hand moved on its own. I didn't think, I just reached out and picked it up. It was unlocked. She'd been in the middle of something. My fingers were trembling so hard I could barely read the open text message thread. A contact labeled J. The last message sent from her phone. "The old woman is digging. She knows about the money. I need an evac plan now." That wasn't the worst part. I swiped to her photo gallery. My blood went cold. It wasn't selfies. It wasn't pictures of my son. It was screenshots. Dozens of them. Screenshots of Ronald's checking account, his 401k retirement fund, his stock portfolio, and then a screenshot of my small savings account, the last bit of money I had left in the world. She had the balance, to the penny. I scrolled to the next picture. It was a photo of a stack of documents, insurance forms, life insurance, a new policy on my son's life. The section for beneficiary was highlighted in yellow, shining like a target. "Oh my God," I whispered. I showed the phone to Ronald. His legs gave out. He grabbed the counter to hold himself up. "She wanted you to sign these tonight," I said. My voice didn't sound like my own. "She was going to have you sign these after dessert." I called 911. I don't remember what I said. Something about fraud. A woman. A missing person who wasn't missing but was an imposter. They sent a car. Then they sent another. A detective showed up. A black woman, looked to be in her 40s. Her face was hard, but her eyes were smart. She introduced herself as Detective Bryant, Metro PD. We showed her the phone. We told her everything. From Franklin's call to the china plates to the screenshots. She didn't look surprised. She looked tired. She spent a long time looking at the photo of the insurance forms. Then she looked at me. "Mrs. Cooper," she said, her voice low and serious, "you probably saved your son from something a whole lot worse than just losing his money." The air left my lungs. After the police left, after they dusted for prints and took the phone as evidence, Ronald just broke. He sat down on the bottom step of his grand staircase, put his head in his hands, and he sobbed. Not a man's cry, but a boy's, loud, ragged, and full of shame. I sat down next to him on that cold, hard step and put my arm around him. "Mama," he choked out. I knew something was wrong. I didn't want to see it. "I know, baby." I felt like a guest in my own house. All my stuff. She said it was junk, so I put it in the attic. And I've been so tired, Mama, all the time, just exhausted. I couldn't figure out why. I rubbed his back. "You were being managed, son," I said, the words tasting like ash. "It's exhausting being someone's project." My phone rang. It was Franklin. "Desi," he said, no preamble. "I found it. The second alias. And a third. 2 quick marriages, Nevada and Florida. Same pattern. Same MO. She's a professional. Her real name is Vivian." "We know," I said. "She's gone. She ran." I hung up and looked around the perfect cold kitchen. My eyes scanned the room. Something was out of place. Under the stainless steel microwave tucked away, a manila folder. I pulled it out. My heart stopped. It was the forms, the actual insurance documents, printed out, ready, and on the front, a bright pink sticky note. In her loopy, cheerful handwriting, it said, "Sign these after dinner, baby, XOXO." The cold dread that washed over me was worse than the shame at the CVS. This was a ticking clock. We hadn't just uncovered a theft. We had interrupted an execution. I drove home. I didn't let Ronald stay in that house alone. He followed me back to my tiny apartment. As I unlocked my door, the single bulb in my small hallway flickered and burned out. It plunged the entry into darkness. I didn't care. I walked to my kitchen counter, past the unpaid light bill. I grabbed a pen and the back of an envelope. I started a new list. Bank. 7 a.m. Police. Meet Bryant. Franklin. All documents. Ronald. Lock everything. I looked at the list. I looked at the darkness in my hallway. "Starting tomorrow," I whispered to the empty, sunny yellow room. I stop being polite. I start being dangerous to this pattern. The sun wasn't even fully up. Ronald and I were at the Metro PD precinct at 7 a.m., cups of bad coffee in our hands. Detective Bryant was already there, sharp in a practical blazer. She didn't waste time on pleasantries. "She's in the wind," Bryant said, motioning us to a table. "Which means she's either running far or she's digging in for one last score. My bet is on the latter. Ronald, you're the score." Ronald just nodded, his face gray. "So today, we lock every door," Bryant continued. "Digitally, financially, everything. Do not take her calls. Do not answer her texts. Send every single thing straight to me. You are a black hole, understand?" We both said, "Yes, ma'am." Our first stop was the bank. Truist, 8 a.m., right when the doors opened. The branch manager, a polished man named Mr. Henderson, took us into his glass office. We had Franklin on speakerphone. Henderson typed. He clicked. He frowned. "Mrs. Cooper, Mr. Cooper, this is extensive." He turned his monitor around. "She didn't go for the big hit, not yet. She was bleeding you. Death by 1,000 cuts." He pointed. $5.99, $9.99, $14.99, over and over. Hundreds of tiny micro transfers to accounts I'd never heard of. Subscriptions to services we didn't own. "It looks like noise," I whispered, horrified. "Like static." "That's the point," Bryant said from the chair next to me. "But that's not the worst of it," Mr. Henderson said. He clicked another screen. "At 7:12 this morning, just under an hour ago, there was an attempted transfer." He pointed to a red, flagged line. $2,500 to a new credit card, a card that was added to Mr. Cooper's digital wallet at 2:16 a.m. last night. while you were both asleep in Mrs. Cooper's apartment." Ronald made a sick sound. "The transfer was declined," Henderson said quickly. "The account was already flagged for the unusual activity with the insurance company. But she was trying. She's still trying." "Freeze it," Ronald said, his voice hoarse. "Freeze everything," I said. My voice wasn't shaking anymore. It was cold. It was steel. "Change every password, lock every account. Put flags on my social, his social. I want a complete lockdown." An hour later, we were at the CVS. My CVS, the pharmacist, the same young woman from yesterday, looked embarrassed to see me. "Mrs. Cooper," she said, keeping her voice low, "I'm so glad you came in. Someone changed your payment profile online. They removed your insurance and put in a bad credit card. That's why your prescriptions were declined. It wasn't about funds. It was a block." She wasn't just stealing my money. She was trying to make me sick. She was cutting off my medicine. "Block her," I said to the pharmacist. "Put a note. In-person ID only. Password protected. Whatever you have to do." Last stop, the insurance company. The agent, a nervous young man, confirmed it. "Yes, Moz. The forms are in our system, but without Mr. Cooper's physical signature, they're just confetti." "Put a block on it," Bryant said, flashing her badge. "This is part of an active fraud investigation. Nothing gets changed on this policy without you calling me first." We walked out into the bright Atlanta sunshine. It felt like a different world. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a fortress, and the walls were going up. We spent the afternoon in Franklin's dusty, book-filled office. Detective Bryant laid out the plan. "We can't just cut her off completely," she said. "If she thinks the well is dry, she'll vanish. We'll never find her. We need to give her a reason to stay." She turned to me. "We're going to leave one. Small account active. A little savings account you don't use much. We'll put a few $100s in it. It's a sensor." "A sensor?" I asked. "We put maximum alerts on it. The second she touches it, pings it, even looks at it, we'll know. We're going to let her think she still has one way in. We're giving her rope." The rest of the time, we built a timeline. Ronald, his voice full of shame, went through his bank statements. "This," he said, pointing to a $5,000 charge from 3 months ago. "A watch. She said she wanted to buy it for me, for our 1-month anniversary. She said her bonus came through." "She bought you a gift." "With your own money," I said. It wasn't a question. "These subscriptions," he said, "wine of the month, a private spa membership. She said they were necessary for entertaining his clients. I let her handle it." We mapped out the deception, piece by sickening piece. I went home just after 5. Ronald stayed with Franklin to sign more paperwork. My little yellow apartment felt different. It wasn't a sad box anymore. It was a command center. I sat in my chair, watching the sun go down, just listening to the quiet. At 6:30, my phone lit up. An unknown number, a new text message. "Nia." My heart hammered against my ribs. It was her. The text read, "Mama Desi, I know you're mad. I'm in a terrible, terrible situation. Please, I need help. Don't call Ronald. He won't understand. I just need $800 for a bus ticket. I'll pay you back tomorrow, I swear. I just need to get away." My hands were steady. I took a screenshot. I forwarded it to Detective Bryant. My phone buzzed a minute later. Bryant. "Good. Do not answer. Do not engage. I'm on this. If she names a place, we go together." I waited. The silence in the room was deafening. 10 minutes later, a new text from Naya. "Please, Mama Desi, I'm scared. He's going to find me." "He who?" I typed, my thumb hovering over send. I stopped. I sent a screenshot to Brian instead. Bryant replied, "Good hold. Let her panic." Another 30 minutes. My stomach was in knots. Buzz. "Just meet me. Behind the coffee shop, by the donut place on 10th. 40 minutes, please. Come alone. And don't bring your phone. They're watching me." I sent the screenshot. Bryant's reply was immediate and cold. "You are not going. Let her sweat. She's fishing. She wants to know if you're alone or if you've gone to the police. Be at my office. 9:15 a.m. tomorrow. We're going hunting." The next morning, we were back at the precinct. Day 3. Bryant was all business. This morning, we turn on the sensor. At 9:30 a.m., she gave the signal. I transferred $500 into the old dormant account. We waited. It didn't take 5 minutes. Ping. Bryant's laptop chimed. "Got her," she muttered. "A charge for $1.23. She's testing the fence," Bryant said. "Ping. 99 cents. "She's making sure the card works," I said. "Exactly." My phone rang. A number I didn't recognize, but it had a local area code. I looked at Bryant. She nodded. "Put it on speaker," I answered. "Hello? Mrs. Odessa Cooper?" A woman's voice. Professional, but off. "Yes. Who is this?" "This is Sherry from Human Resources at Mercy General Hospital. We're calling to follow up on some employment verification for Akeisha Cooper." I almost dropped the phone. I looked at Bryant. She was holding up her hand, shaking her head. "No." I heard music in the background. "Hold music." It was jazz. "I'm sorry," I said, my old teacher voice kicking in. "I worked for the school board for 40 years. Mercy General's hold music is classical. Vivaldi. It's always Vivaldi. Who is this, really?" The line clicked. Dead. Bryant was already on her own phone. "Run that number. Burner." She hung up and looked at me, a small smile on her face. "Good catch, Mrs. Cooper. That wrong hold music was a nice touch. She's getting desperate. She's trying to build a new lie." She dialed another number. "Yeah, get me Director Allen over at Mercy HR. Hey, Mark, Bryant, quick question. You ever employ a Keisha? Anything? Or a Vivian?" "No, never." "That's what I thought. Thanks." She hung up. "No such person. Never was." My phone buzzed. A text from Nia. "That was a test. You're working with them. I knew it. One last chance. 1 p.m. behind the Goodwill on Piedmont. Bring the money or you'll never see me again." "She's getting sloppy," Bryant said. She took my phone. She typed a reply. "I can't go behind any buildings. I can talk. 1 p.m. out front by the nail salon. In public, or not at all." She hit send. A minute later. "Fine, but come alone." At 12:45, I was parked in the Goodwill lot on Piedmont. I was wearing a wire. It felt heavy and strange under my blouse. Detective Bryant was in my ear, connected through a tiny flesh-colored earpiece. "I'm 2 rows back in the blue minivan. 2 other unmarked cars are in the lot. You are safe. Just talk to her." My hands were slick on the steering wheel. At 1:03, a gray Nissan Sentra pulled into the lot. It parked 3 spaces away. It was her. Vivian. She was wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap. She didn't get out of the car. She just stared at me. Then she gestured with her head, a sharp, angry jerk toward the side of the building, toward the dumpsters. My heart was pounding. "Stay put," Bryant's voice said in my ear. Calm, firm. "No dumpsters. She comes to you or the meat is off. Don't move." I folded my hands in my lap. I stared straight ahead. I didn't look at her. I waited. 1 minute. 2. I saw her hit her steering wheel. She was furious. She looked at my car one last time, her face twisted in a snarl I'd never seen before. Then she put the car in reverse, squealed out of the parking space, and sped out onto Piedmont. She was gone. Did I do it wrong?" I whispered. "You did it perfectly," Bryant said in my ear. "She knows you're not a victim anymore. Now she's scared." "What now?" I asked. My adrenaline was fading. "Now we wait," Bryant's voice said in my ear. She was suddenly at my car door. "She's cornered. She'll make another move." I said, the impulse hitting me before I could think. "I just want to see where she went." Before Bryant could stop me, I put the car in gear and pulled out of the lot. "Desi, no, stand down," Bryant yelled. But I was already on Piedmont. "I'll just follow. Keep an eye." "That is not the plan, Cooper. Come back." I saw the gray Nissan Sentra 2 blocks ahead. She was driving fast, erratic. She made a right. I followed. She made a left onto a quiet residential street. I followed. She made another sharp right into a narrow service alley I didn't recognize. I slowed down, and then I saw it. The red brick wall at the end of the alley. A dead end. My foot slammed the brake. The Nissan Sentra was parked at the end, blocking the way. Vivian was already out of the car. She was standing there, arms crossed. Cold. No Nia. No Keisha. This was the real woman, and she was holding her phone, aimed right at my face. Click. The flash was blinding. She took my picture. My blood ran cold. It was a trap. She had trapped me. My hands scrambled for the gear shift. I threw the car into reverse and backed out of that alley as fast as I could, my tires screaming. I got back onto the main street, my heart trying to escape my chest, and that's when I saw them. Blue lights, flashing in my rearview mirror, a police cruiser, pulling me over. "Desi, what's your location?" Bryant's voice was frantic in my ear. I'm on Piedmont," I stammered. A cop is pulling me over." "Stay in the car. Do not get out," she ordered. An officer, a young man with a grim face, walked up to my window. "Ma'am," he said, his hand on his belt, "please turn off the engine. We received a 911 call. A woman reported you were harassing her, chasing her in your vehicle, trapped her in an alley." I couldn't speak. She's lying," I finally managed. "She's a con artist. Ma'am, I need you to step out of the car." "Officer!" Detective Bryant's unmarked car screeched to a halt behind the cruiser. She was out, badge in hand, before the young cop could even turn. "Detective Bryant, Metro PD. This woman is my witness. The other driver is my suspect. Stand down." The officer looked confused, but he took his hand off his belt. Bryant took over, her voice low and furious, explaining the situation. I just sat there shaking, and then my phone buzzed. A new text from Ronald. It was a screenshot of a text he had just received from Nia. "Ronald, your mother is unstable. She just chased me in her car, trapped me. I have pictures. I'm filing a police report right now. I'm scared for my life. You have to make her stop. If you ever loved me, you will make her stop." "Oh my God," I whispered. She was flipping the script. She was painting me as the crazy, obsessed old woman. As Bryant was talking to the officer, my house phone forwarded to my cell, my neighbor. "Miss Cooper?" Her voice was shaky. There's a young woman in a hoodie. She was trying to use a key on your apartment. When it didn't work, she started jiggling the handle. I asked her who she was, and she ran off." It was Vivian. She had a key. Bryant heard the call on my speakerphone. Her face went hard. "We're done waiting," she said. She looked at me. "Mrs. Cooper, go to your son's house. Do not go back to your apartment. Do not leave his side. She's cornered, and now she's dangerous." We were locked down in Ronald's cold, staged house. It felt like a fortress, but we were the ones under siege. For the rest of the day, nothing. Silence. No texts. No pings on the sensor. "She's planning," Bryant said over the phone. "She's not running. She's reloading." The silence was worse than the chase. At 9 p.m. that night, my phone lit up. "Nia. One last final offer. I'm done. You win. I just want to leave. Meet me tomorrow. Starbucks on Peachtree, 4 p.m. Bring the $800 for the bus ticket, come alone, or I disappear forever, and I'll take all of Ronald's secrets with me." I forwarded it to Bryant. Her reply was 2 words. "We're taking it." The next day at 3:30, I was in a back room at the precinct getting wired up again. This one was bigger, audio and a tiny button camera. "All right, Desi," Bryant said. Her hands were gentle on my shoulders. "This is it. We'll be inside. 2 plainclothes at tables, 1 behind the counter. You are not alone." "What's the play?" I asked, my mouth dry. "The play is, you don't accuse. You just talk. Keep her talking. We need her to take the money. If she takes the money, it's theft. It's extortion. It's the final nail. And if it goes wrong? If it goes wrong, if you feel threatened, you use the code phrase, I need a glass of water. You just say that and we move in. Got it? I need a glass of water, I repeated. 4 p.m. I walked into the Starbucks. She was already there, sitting in a corner booth facing the door. She looked different. She wasn't Nia, the nurse, or Vivian, the predator. She looked small. She was wearing a plain, harmless blue dress. She was playing the victim one last time. I sat down across from her. The air smelled thick, like burnt coffee. "Mama Desi," she said, her voice trembling. "Thank you for coming." I just nodded. She started a new story, a whole new lie. It was almost impressive. "It's not what you think," she whispered, leaning in. I got involved with a private lender, a bad man. Before Ronald, he's threatening me. He's threatening Ronald. That's where the money was going, to protect him." "So you need $800? I asked. $1,500, really," she said, her eyes darting to my purse. "Just to get him off my back. Then I can disappear, and you and Ronald will be safe. I was just trying to protect him." I looked at this woman who had stolen my past and tried to steal my son's future. "I don't believe you," I said. My voice was quiet, but it cut through the coffee shop noise. Her face twitched. "What? I don't believe you. You don't work at the hospital. That's not your name. You were going to have my son sign his life away. For you." Her eyes went cold. The victim was gone. "You're a sharp old woman," she hissed. "Fine, you want a deal? Here's the deal. You get Ronald to sign those insurance forms, and I'll disappear. You'll never see me again. He'll be heartbroken, but he'll be yours again." She was offering to sell me my own son back. I reached into my purse. I pulled out the envelope, the one Bryant had given me, $800 in marked bills. "This is all I have," I said. "This is for my son, for the pain you caused." She looked at the envelope. She looked at me. "That's not the deal," she snarled. "It's all you're getting," I said. She stared at the cash. Her greed won. Her hand shot out fast as a snake and snatched the envelope. She shoved it deep into her bag. I leaned back. I looked her right in the eye. "What did you just take that money for?" I asked, my voice clear. For my silence," she said, zipping her bag. "For the arrangement so I don't interfere." I nodded. "I see." I looked past her, toward the counter. "I need a glass of water." It was over in a second. "Vivian," Bryant's voice said. She was just there. Vivian's head snapped up. The two plainclothes officers were standing, blocking the exit. "You're under arrest," Bryant said. Vivian tried to lie. Of course she did. She was a liar to her bones. "Detective, thank God," she cried, trying to force tears. "This woman, she's been stalking me. She forced me to take this money. It was a goodbye gift." Bryant didn't even blink. "A gift? Great. Then you won't mind describing the exact terms of this gift for my body cam, for the record." Vivian's face crumpled. The real face. The face of a hateful, cornered animal. They cuffed her and led her out, but it wasn't over. The next morning, Ronald and I were in the kitchen. He was on the phone with Franklin. The doorbell rang. I looked at Ronald. He looked at me. I went to the door. I looked through the peephole. A man in a cheap suit. He was holding a briefcase. "Mobile notary!" he called out. My blood turned to ice. I put the chain on the door. I opened it that tiny crack. "Can I help you?" "Mrs. Cooper, I'm here about some insurance documents for a Mr. Ronald Cooper to sign?" And then, from the side of the porch, out of the blind spot, Vivian stepped into view. She'd made bail. Her face was puffy from crying, but her eyes were pure fire. "Sign it," she hissed through the crack in the door. "Sign the papers right now, you old bitch." "Get off my son's property," I said. "You'll sign it." she shrieked, her voice cracking. "Or I'll tell everyone you beat me. I'll tell them you assaulted me. I'll cry and they'll believe me." She slammed her shoulder into the door, trying to break the chain. Her hand came right through the crack, clawing for the lock, for the chain, trying to force her way in. I recoiled, terrified. I took a breath. I stood tall, and I screamed the only words that mattered. "I need a glass of water." The notary's head snapped up. From the street, Bryant and her team, who had been sitting in an unmarked car since dawn, moved on the house. Fast. "Vivian!" Bryant shouted. "On the ground! You're in violation of your release, you and your friend!" They arrested her. They arrested the fake notary. This time there was no bail. In Franklin's office, we did the math. The $10,000 from the wedding, gone. The micro transfers, mostly gone. The watch, the spa, the subscriptions, all gone. "That's the price of the lesson, son," I told Ronald, who was staring at the negative numbers. "But the $800 from the sting, we got that back. My house was gone. But my savings, the ones she'd screenshotted, they were safe. My son was safe." In court, it was fast. With the wiretap, the video of the extortion, and the final desperate attempt at the front door, she had no defense. The pattern was proven. The judge gave a permanent restraining order and set a date for sentencing. That night, Ronald and I went back to his house. The first thing he did, he went up to the attic. He came down carrying his father's old mantel clock. He wound it. Tick, tock. He set it back on the fireplace. The sound filled the cold, gray room. It sounded like a heartbeat. He made us tea. We sat at the kitchen table. I took a new magnet I'd bought at the drugstore from my purse. I stuck it on the stainless steel refrigerator. It was just a white card. I'd written on it with a marker. Kindness with boundaries. Ronald put his hand over mine. "I'm sorry, Mama." "I know, baby," I said. "We're okay." I drove home, to my little apartment. The landlord had fixed the light in the hallway. I walked into my sunny yellow room. I lit the cheap candle I'd been saving, not to keep the shadows at bay, but to mark the room as my own. I was Odessa Cooper. I was 68 years old, and I was not junk.